Good afternoon. I'm Brittany Johnson, sitting in for Karen Holmes Ward. Two Massachusetts sanctuary cities, Somerville and Chelsea, are asking a federal court to block the Trump administration from cutting their funding. Lawyers for civil rights filed a lawsuit in defense of the cities, claiming the administration's threats violate their constitutional rights. Their latest motion asked the court to stop any cuts while the case plays out in court. Somerville's mayor says, quote, Somerville and Chelsea are stepping up to defend lawful sanctuary city policies against harmful and unjustified federal attacks. This comes while acting director of ICE, Todd Lyons, promises more enforcement in Massachusetts. Nearly 1,500 arrests were made last month during Operation Patriot. Now, he blames the policies of sanctuary cities for the ICE raids.
ICE and its federal partners wouldn't be able to conduct large-scale operations like this without the partnership you see up here. But more importantly, if sanctuary cities would change their policies and turn these violent criminal aliens over to us into our custody, instead of releasing them into the public, we would not have to go out to the communities and do this.
According to ICE, slightly more than half of people taken into custody have been convicted or charged with crimes. Now, joining me now is Marian Albert, a senior attorney with the Lawyers for Civil Rights. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Brittany.
Now, bring us up to speed here. Why did your organization choose to help represent these two sanctuary cities?
Of course. So Lawyers for Civil Rights actually also filed a lawsuit under the first Trump administration, also on behalf of municipalities that had sanctuary policies. And so this time around, we are representing the city of Chelsea and Somerville because they have the right to implement these types of policy and ensure that there's public safety in their cities. And they're doing this lawfully without interfering with federal immigration laws.
Tell me, how strong is this case here? Do the sanctuary cities have a chance of winning?
We have a very strong case. It's, like I said, similarly, the first Trump administration, there were similar suits and there was some success there. Obviously, due to the change in administration, some of that was halted, but we have had success in these types of cases and we feel very strongly about our case. As you mentioned, we filed a motion earlier this week so that we can ask the court to intervene and make sure that immense harm doesn't come to Chelsea and Somerville because the federal government has decided to withhold millions of dollars in federal funds.
Talk to me more about that harm. What is the harm if they do withhold this funding?
Sure. So, for example, Chelsea was, for the fiscal year of 2024, Chelsea was going to receive nearly $15 million in federal funds. They were going to use that to fund education efforts. They also have a massive renovation project for their downtown area. And now, if they don't have that money coming in, well, that would be a huge expense that they wouldn't be able to fulfill. For Somerville, very similar. They were going to receive for that same fiscal year nearly $20 million, and that was going to go to efforts such as education and other human and public safety efforts.
I want to pause for a second to hear some more about the recent ICE press conference. Here's what we heard and how communities have changed handling the current anti-immigration environment. What are you hearing from community members?
Yeah, well, community members, no matter their immigration status, believe and understand why sanctuary policies are important. For public safety, it's better that people feel comfortable coming to the police, whether that is to report a crime, whether that is to be a witness in an investigation. And people understand that people will be more comfortable coming to the police and in participating in these things if they don't feel like they're going to be deported or put in immigration proceedings. And so again, the municipal leaders understand this, and this is why they're standing up for these rights. And the community also understands that for everyone to feel safe, we have to make sure that our immigrant population is also safe.
Yes, and you guys have been very busy. You all are also representing a family, a man who was taken into ICE custody, leaving behind his wife and 3 children. Kenya Guerrero told her story at a press conference last week with local lawmakers and her legal team.
Mm-hmm.
They surrounded us, broke the car window, and took my husband in front of my children by force. They were violent. I am asking for my husband, Daniel Flores Martinez, to be released.
Marian, what can you tell us about this case?
Yes. Well, like our client was saying in the press conference, this is an escalating form of violence that we're seeing across the country. It's not the only incident that we've seen. In fact, I believe that there's been at least 25 instances where immigration officials have done something similar, such as breaking a car window in order to pull someone out of the car and detain them. And so here you have so many other things happening, right? Our clients were on the way to church on Mother's Day of all days. All of the children who are 3 years old, 12 years old, and 14 years old are in the same car when the immigration officers just surround the car, unidentified, masked, and then eventually within minutes break the window and pull their father out to the ground, placing him on the cement, placing their knees on his back. And the children are devastated. And obviously this is a very traumatic experience that will remain with them for a very long time. And so, the family wants to stand up for their rights because they know that they have rights. Kenya Guerrero is a US citizen, and so are her 3 children. And so, we want to make sure that that immigration officials are held accountable and that they're able to be made whole in this situation.
Now, we're just now starting to hear from these families. Families are speaking out. Mm-hmm. We're seeing a lot of video recently in recent times of ICE coming in and detaining people. Mm-hmm. Why now? Why do you think people are speaking out now?
Well, for many reasons. I think that a lot of the policies from the Trump administration have created a chilling effect in many immigrant communities. And that is, the theme of fear is something that has been pretty prevalent since the beginning of his administration. But enough is enough. And just like our clients, they're saying we're not going to let this go by. Someone has to be held accountable. And that's correct, because if we don't hold these immigration officers accountable, it'll keep escalating and the violence will only get worse. And we can't allow that to happen.
I know that we're hearing from ICE that they're saying more than half of the people that have been detained have had records, some sort of criminal record. Can you give us more insight into that? Because they won't elaborate on that.
Well, this is what the Trump administration has said from his campaign, right? The campaign saying that they were going to go after only criminals. But we've seen through many different instances that that's not the case, right? Many people who have been detained don't have a criminal record. And if anything, the only offense that they've committed is coming here to this country. And immigration is a civil offense, not a criminal offense. And so what the Trump administration is doing is using this narrative of criminals. And again, this comes along with a lot of layers, because who are the criminals? Well, all the black and brown immigrants are criminals, right? Like, they want to criminalize that, and they're using that as a way to justify their actions, such as what happened to our clients.
So what does the future look like here, the immediate future? Where do we go from here?
Sure. So what Lawyers for Civil Rights is doing and has been doing is that we want to educate our community about their rights. We've done several Know Your Rights presentations with community organizations throughout Boston, and we're also representing families and cities that want to stand up for their rights when they know they have them, right? And make sure that they're made whole.
Okay, thank you so much for that information there, and thank you so much for being with us today, Marion.
Thank you.